A very warm welcome to our latest episode of Momentum Meets. I'm Alistair Body, Business Development Director here at Momentum Broker Solutions. And today we're talking 15 years of Momentum. It's the 5th of November, which marks a very massive milestone for Momentum. To celebrate, I'm here with my boss and founder, Managing Director, Howard Pepper. A very warm welcome. 15 years is quite something, Howard.
It's a long time. It's gone very quickly.
It's always flying by. So talk us through some of the reflections on the journey 15 years in.
It's been a very interesting journey. Gone by very quickly, but a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, very rewarding, and it's been a great thing to be part of.
Let's go right back to the beginnings. What inspired you to set up this business 15 years ago?
Yes, well, I'm not a person who's known for inspiration and magic moments or anything like that. That hasn't been in my world. I used to work in the big corporate world, one of the biggest global brokers, then into the consolidation space. After that came to an end, one of those chance things really. I was literally walking down the street in my local village and bumped into a former colleague of mine, Steve Borman, who had left the business, started his own brokerage as an appointed representative, and talked to me about that. And it's an interesting thing, really, because I didn't know an awful lot about appointed representatives. I know a little bit more now. But it led me to think, well, there's a great opportunity here. I'd seen in the consolidator world a lot of the people I used to, the businesses we acquired were guys who'd set up on their own 20 years ago, built great brokerages. So there's obviously a model there now. Incredibly difficult for them to start up at the time. Very difficult to start up. Lots of regulations, systems issues, and all that sort of thing. A whole world of agony to start an insurance brokerage. So the model seemed like a good idea. A little bit of research, and nobody else was doing it. There was one dedicated business in the UK, dedicated principal. That's all they were. Looking further afield, the financial services sector, yep. Massive amount of appointed representatives out there, very well known principals like St James's Place and that, building great businesses. And in our space, over in Australia and Canada, some very significant appointed representative business. So it just begged the question, really, why is that not happening in the UK? Is there an opportunity there?
So why not continue doing what you did in the corporate world? I mean, that's what you knew for how many years?
Yes. Well, yes. I was too corporate, and I sold out quite a lot in the early days. But I really was attracted to that. I don't regard myself as an entrepreneur. The people we support, the partners who build their businesses, they're entrepreneurs. But I've done the corporate stuff, really, and probably done that to death. Little fed up with the way all that operated, in all honesty. It's a highly political atmosphere to be in. And I suppose I did have an inkling to do something by myself. Financially, I was in a position where I would probably be able to do that without taking too much risk.
And you talk about taking the pain away from small or independent brokers in general, but you must have taken on quite a bit of pain yourself in those early days of setting up a model and a business that was fit for purpose that ultimately would have become the market leader pretty quickly.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Awful lot of work there. I mean, one of the challenges anybody who's starting up their own business, but particularly in setting up that sort of business, is you need quite a lot of capital. You need to build a team to become a principal, to become authorized and able to trade. You need to have a broking presence there, so you can look after the people as they come on board. So that's an expensive thing. There's a lot of work involved in that. You've got to go for the regulatory process. You have to get your team in place. You have to have the structure, which will enable you to scale your business and provide support to partners. So yeah, a lot of hard work.
We'll go back to obviously building that team in a second, but you touched on before about being a bit too corporate. Did you struggle with pulling away from that corporate world in regards to the behaviours and how the business should be set up? I suppose with a lot less structure, I presume, in those early days than you're probably used to.
Yeah, oh, absolutely that. I mean, and I think it would resonate for anybody who starts their own business. You do everything, absolutely everything. I was used to having all sorts of departments to do all sorts of things, which I didn't do. But no, absolutely everything. Jumping in the car, driving around the country to speak to people, doing our own marketing, building our own desks,
Yeah.
whatever. Absolutely everything. So that was an interesting time.
So I mean, with those early days, obviously, it was about being hands-on, doing basically everything. I mean, roles and responsibilities as this business looks like now was very, very
Mm.
different. Certainly in the early days, and I recall that myself from the early days of working at Arista. But what challenges did you? What were the big challenges, should I say, in regards to getting momentum off the ground in the early days?
Well, I mean, it's all right to build an infrastructure to support businesses. You've got to get those businesses on board. And as a fledgling business, bearing in mind that our main mission there was not actually to look at a competitor and say how can we win business from them. Our objective was to make the appointed representative model the go-to model for new independent brokers. So it's much more about that. So you have to create a marketplace. You have to get out there and start marketing yourself. Um, just getting incredibly engaged with all facets of our sector and see what happens. So um, lots of challenges in all of that, but it's a very steep learning curve.
I can
I
imagine.
soon became very aware that you actually don't turn up to see a one-man band appointed representative in a suit and tie and briefcase and look very corporate. You have to recognise that there's a different culture and one which I very quickly got used to and enjoyed.
I mean, before we sort of talk about attracting broker partners, because that's the big thing, isn't it? Obviously, you need to create that income stream. But before you even get to that, you need to have a team. You need to have a team right from the
Yes.
start. So I can't imagine broking and finance is really your thing, is
Well, I love it, of course, but I'm no good at it. So yes, building the team was fundamental, and I would say that about any business really, and recognizing that, bring people in who've got great sets of skills. Don't try and do what they do because you're not going to be any good at it. So initially, bring on board a broking, somebody who really knew the marketplace for sure. Bringing Hazel on board was absolutely fundamental. The operations, building operations for a business you want to scale is key and critical. And quite candidly, we just not would have got off the ground without having Hazel's involvement in that. And then there's all the other issues around that. Fortunately, Hazel could sweep up a lot of those sort of things, but you need finance people, just the whole range of. So in the early days, we built a small team,
it?
and then we started to scale it.
And if you think back to those early days, Hazel, Emma, Matt, I think Karen, I may have forgotten anybody
Yes,
there, but
yes,
there's four critical people. There's still four critical people in this business as we sit
yeah.
today.
Lovely thing that I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. We're all still here and still standing, and that's fantastic, and made tremendous contributions to the business. So it's great.
I mean, obviously from day one, you touched on Steve, obviously coming on board very, very early on. But how did you attract broker partners? Because you've got no market presence. What I would say is a relatively still. I mean, I having dealt with ARs working for as an insurer, it was still a relatively foreign concept at that time in the
Mm.
general insurance space. So where did you start?
Yes, and absolutely right. And as I said before, really creating an awareness around what an AR is and the benefits that would be was a big thing. I was quite well networked from my previous world, so I was able to connect up with quite a few people within the consolidators who businesses we'd acquired. New individuals there, and some of those went on early days to start up their brokerages. We clearly got ourselves out there in terms of publicity and with the insurance press. And then it's just market yourself really. And at that time we didn't have a marketing department, so we were doing that ourselves as well. But that became a very quick thing we needed to do to create the right marketing team.
Culture and obviously support for the team is critical for you, and I know that is something which we've talked about many times before. But what were the other critical parts again, right from day one?
Um, There's a lot of things you need to do right. You've got to build a very solid foundation for business, for sure. So you've got to have the right systems, and we invested in Actress right from the start. We were fortunate. Hazel was involved in Actress right from their start, as part of her previous role. So we knew that was fundamental. We had to create a system platform which would enable our partners to be able to trade very effectively. Um, Deal making is massively important. We have to rely a lot on our relationships with the marketplace to convince them that this was going to be a business that they would want to partner with and support. Spend a lot of time with the market and bringing in, favors from the past, really, and making sure that worked. And all the rest of the fundamentals of business, finance, and making sure that you get people on board. They're good people. They have the right quality in terms of appointed representatives. They look after their clients well. That we provide an efficient service and we manage the money well, and all those fundamentals of a business.
I remember, look, we've talked a little bit around getting those initial critical appointments in place, and as the business grew, I remember the first time we spoke was a Monday morning. It was quite an early in the morning telephone conversation between the two of ourselves, and I was looking for the next step in my career. Relatively short conversation, but within 2 weeks, I think it was, I was now part of the furniture. Fast forward 9 years on, and
Yes.
it's unbelievable that I've been here as long as it is. In the early days, you had to be, I suppose, a little bit more reactive around your appointments and thinking about, obviously, selfishly, my appointment.
Yes.
That was once again a reactive thing to an opportunity that presented to yourself. How did you deal in those early days of just making sure that you've got the right people doing the right jobs?
Yeah, and I think it's one of the traits characteristics of independent businesses. Really, you need to be fleet of foot and certainly reactive. You can have a great plan. I can remember when we pitched the business idea to a local investor to raise capital. We produced a fabulous plan, and as you look back on that 3 or 4 years, it's work fiction, and that is the way. So, for me, I think I've always been good at recognizing talent. Culture has been massively important always, and if you can find people, so as for yourself, Alistair, really, that was an opportunity, not necessarily in the plan, but there's no way we would not take advantage of that. And how I say,
9 years later,
it's worked out well.
it's been all right. I mean, the important thing is in those scenarios, as a growing or as a fledgling business, is you've got to take those opportunities, because if you don't, you know you're going to regret it.
Oh yes,
But
yeah.
I can't imagine the day before that telephone call was had that you were saying we need a business development person in.
No, that was well, actually, myself and actually Hazel, we were around the country doing that, but obviously that became a great relief. We had a proper salesperson, professional, who could do that.
I'll take that compliment. Coming to end of year reviews. Thanks, Hal. I mean, fabulous. But obviously, as the business goes on, the business then found itself in a position we had to recruit more strategically. That was really, really critical. I remember those early days when we were always backfilling. It felt like we were constantly doing that. Whereas now, we've seen the appointment of Steve Walton in the compliance. We've seen the appointment of John Ady. Very strategic appointments, amongst others within the business as well. Talk us through how you moved that, I suppose, shifted the needle in regards to recruitment.
Yes, and I think that that's the benefit as you grow the business. It is has an amount of success. You build up some capital. You can invest in things which will make the business better for the future. We always, and I think again, it's sort of common for any growing business. You make your appointments just in time, really. You can't afford to go out and build a fabulous infrastructure for a business, hoping that at some point in time you'll create the revenue to justify that. Personally, having come out of corporate structures, I understand what structure you need to support a business, and then at our stage in development, it became quite obvious. Really, we need to invest significantly. We've always invested in our colleagues who support our appointed representative partners. That's massively important. We need also to invest in those people which would just bring some new sets of skills and help take our business forward and on to the next level.
I mean, we look at it obviously compliance specifically, and you look at the increased regulation, and
Yeah,
particularly in the appointed representative
yeah,
space in the UK. Steve's appointment was fairly critical to the business, but without that, I think you're going to struggle as a business certainly to keep ahead of what the regulator's looking for these days.
yeah. I mean, part of our raison d'être it really is to cover off the regulatory aspects so that our partners don't have to do that. So we've invested heavily in that. I mean, we have a compliance team. Steve heads that up. It's a big overhead, but so important. And Steve, through his relationships with our appointed representatives, with the FCA, has been able to smooth that process. But yes, it's a big investment. It doesn't add anything to the bottom line, but it's critical to our business.
Let's talk about independence and investment. In the early days, investment was sought from what turned out to be one of Momentum's largest clients back in the day.
Yes.
Talk me through the funding challenges at the start. You've got your fabulous marketing or business plan that you presented.
Yes.
The work of fiction, as you now describe it.
Yeah. I feel very fondly about that. Really, it's a real that time is a real sort of eye opener as to how actually businesses operate and mechanics, and pitching a business plan to an angel investment, as you say. That was a local client of Steve's, who had invested in some businesses, engineering business, very, very successful, awful lot of cash on their balance sheet and looking to do that. And really what we needed to do is just create capital. We had all the skills we needed. We weren't looking for somebody to add that into the business. So we pitched to them, and they were absolutely fantastic. Raised the funds which enable us to start investing in the people and the systems that we needed. So yeah, it's a very interesting time.
I mean, and since then, shareholding was gradually pulled back into the business. How critical was that in regards to obviously maintaining independence and ultimately control of the business?
I think that's absolutely crucial. I mean, we are an independent business supporting independent businesses. It's part of our DNA, and needs to be. So that has always been the objective, and always will be going forward. So making sure that we controlled the business, just fundamental.
And so, if some of our broker partners are listening to this and talking around potentially giving investment away, what's your sort of take on doing that, whether it's initially or whether it's as the business grows? Because we'll come right back onto AUB and obviously our desire to work with AUB. But what's your sort of advice to those who are in that sort of situation where they're seeking external investment?
Yeah, and there are different situations for everybody, for sure. I would say be very careful when you're starting a business. If you need capital to do that, then a minority interest is absolutely fine. But be aware that you are giving away your business at a point in time when it's at its lowest value. In 5, 6, 10 years' time, you might have a very valuable asset there, and you want to make sure that you're in control of that asset, and you've got the most value out of that. Having said that, if capital is critical to the start of your business, then you're not going to get anywhere without it. But don't give it all away. Take some advice. Make sure you're working with people who are understand what you're trying to achieve and supportive of that. So it's not a one size fits all, but I would always say stay independent.
Yeah, and ultimately, if you are going to give away equity, have a game plan if you can around how to pull that shareholding back in.
Yes, which is what we did, have a mechanism for that, and of course, at a point in time, you want to realise the value out of your business as well through succession and whatever. So you always need a plan.
So, and then if we translate this into the Momentum world, so you pulled all the shareholding back into Momentum, and then you found yourself in a situation where AUB presented a very attractive proposition for us to get them to invest in the business.
Yes, we're a bit more proactive now. I'd been looking for a minority investor for a long time, really. I mean, there was a few drivers for that. Certainly to achieve what we want to achieve as a business, we did need access to capital. We also became very aware through the dealings with our partners, our appointed representatives, that a lot of them needed support in order to scale their businesses and get the maximum they can out of that. So they wanted and needed access to capital. And of course, we had a number of our appointed representatives, natural life cycle. They will come to a point where they want to retire and realise the value out of their businesses. And we needed a mechanism for that. We didn't want to leave the Momentum family. So that access to capital was a big part of it. Secondly, we wanted to give some reward to our colleagues who have worked really hard to build a business. So we were able to achieve funds to do that as well. So that was an objective for quite a period of time, finding the right partner culturally to do that, and actually wanting to be part of that structure, recognizing that they would never own the business, they'd never control the business, they were just supporting a business which they felt would be successful, and AUB ticked all those boxes for us.
You've been quite vocal historically in some of the other press releases and even previous podcasts around control and ownership. That with investors, that's really, really critical for you.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing I've heard you've been most resolute about
Okay.
from day one.
Mm.
And that hasn't changed in any respect from your end.
No, it hasn't. And you learn something every day, but that's something which has just been reinforced for me as going through business and this business. I mean, control is a massively important part of running a business. Not all businesses have to be run that way. There are very different things. But if you are starting for instance, an independent brokerage, small brokerage, you need to be the person in control of that. It's your idea. You want to drive that. So you have to hold the cards.
Absolutely, and ultimately, the devil's in the detail when it comes to these investments, isn't it? In regards to shareholding agreements and making sure the
Yes,
shareholding agreements continue to give you that control, despite what it says in regards to equity.
exactly that. Yes, we spent an awful lot of money on the degrees to get that right, and we learnt a lot through various processes, and so we understand that. But yeah, it is all about the detail.
So let's look 15 years on. I know patting yourself on your back is probably not something that you do regularly, but you must have some moments where you're quite proud of in regards to what's been achieved over the last 15 years.
Oh, 100%. But I'm proud of the team. I mean, it's always been about the team. We've got a great team, and as you mentioned before, they stayed together. We've driven this together. So I'm a big believer in that for sure. But absolutely proud. I'm proud that we support so many small brokers out there. We are just critical to their business and their success, which is fantastic. I'm really proud that we employ over 100 people now directly who support those guys. So all those things do make you proud.
And look, of all the startups in the last 2 months, or 12 months, should I say, all but two, I believe, have been ARs. Would you say that Momentum's ultimately brought the AR model as the go-to solution for independent brokers?
Well, as I said, really that was our mission because we absolutely recognised that really the thing here was, well, this is a great business model operating in different arenas, which is not here. So why is that? And that just was not being communicated. Very proud of that. The appointed representative, as you say, is now the route to market for small independent brokers. When we first started conversations with potential new partners, you had to explain.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what an appointed representative was, nor did the insurance market, which was another set of conversations really. So there's an awful lot of communication going on.
Turning an oil tanker around comes to mind. Doesn't it?
It was absolutely that, and it's a good analogy. And actually, I think we have turned it around. It's now in the right direction.
So let's talk about people and partnerships. We talked a lot about our staff. We talked a lot about our relationships too with our broker partners. But let's talk about insurers. How critical have they been in regards to the journey that we've been on? We referred to it as being like an oil tanker,
Yes.
been turned around. But you know what? That persistence has paid off, and it's worked very, very well.
Yes, it has. I mean, we've got Matt Brunton heads up a great broking team, build fabulous relationship with insurers, and strategic partnerships with insurers is absolutely essential to our business success, to our partners' business success. We're managing that on their behalf, and we've got some great relationships. And they've come along with on the journey, and we've sold a dream to them as well, where we're going to be, how we're going to get there, the standards, the quality, and all the things which surround our business. and that's paid off fantastically. So we now work with a lot of the market, but strategically with a smaller part of, but very supportive relationships, and that'll stand us in really good stead as market conditions change.
And investors, how important is it to keep them on board in regards to keeping them informed in regards to what we're doing and how the business is growing and evolving?
Yeah, fundamental. I think communication is key and critical. Keeping them advised of what we're doing, how we're developing, and asking them for their support and ideas. I mean, don't be in partnership with somebody and then ignore them.
Keep
They
doing
got some great stuff going on there. So yeah, definitely a lot of that.
So what's next for Momentum?
I think we're in a great place. I mean, it's incredible to imagine that we have been running for 15 years. It just feels like that. We're still at the start of the process, really, and I think we've got fantastic opportunity as a business to continue to grow and continue to grow with our partners. I know it's not very glamorous, but certainly more of the same. It's a very scalable business. There are lots of opportunities for us. There's lots of people out there who want to start their own brokerages, given the right support, and it's a great sector to start a business in. So, yes, we will get bigger. We need to do that. You can't go backwards. Not an option, really. But we will continue to embrace our own culture and style and standards and do it in that way.
Let's think about the future for independent brokers. What does that look like for you?
Well, all sort of consolidation has been in the last few years, and I guess a lot of the independent brokers have been sucked up into bigger corporate masses, and it's something I follow avidly. I think consolidation is a positive thing for us. It does mean that for a lot of people, sadly, they end up working for businesses they didn't choose to work for, in cultures they're not particularly aligned with, and supporting clients who similarly have not chosen to be there. So it's a very strong thing for us because it produces new people who want to start their own brokerages. It also means for our broker partners out there, that disruption gives them the opportunity to win new clients. And one of the features of our business is the personal service which our partners provide to their clients, and that sort of stability is really important, and they can build on that and build their businesses.
And when you look at independent brokers and the appointed representative model, is it fair to say they go hand in hand?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was an early day question, really, which shows that, well, the point of evidence is not real broker, are they? I think that's been probably debunked some time ago. Absolutely, that they are their own brokerages. They own the clients. We provide support services to them. They service their clients and look after them, win their business, and grow their profits, and completely independent. And in many ways, more so, because all the back office stuff which gets done by us. Well, that's you haven't got all that baggage and luggage around you. So, if at the point in time you're going to sell your business, you've just got a whole bunch of clients and a very profitable business, and they are yours.
And a question for you, which comes up regularly, when it comes down to how you price for the services of what Momentum fundamentally does for our broker partners day in, day out. You can do that a multitude of ways, and typically how the industry works is obviously on a split of earnings or ultimately working on a fee. How did you sort of settle on working on a split of earnings, and how important was that to you, and what's your justification for that?
I think fundamental, a part of our business model. For us, alignment with our partners was the key and critical thing. So we always should still say, our success is your success, and vice versa. So you had to create that link. If we're doing a great job providing great deals and great propositions for our partners, and they're securing them, then we both win. If we get a fee, we're not concerned. It doesn't matter if we don't win the business. It doesn't matter. We are passionately concerned to ensure that we do win on behalf of our partners, clients, and that financial tie makes that fundamental to our business as well.
And I suppose ultimately everything we do day out has to be fit for purpose and drive their success. Because if it doesn't, then there's going to be question marks around what our pricing structure looks like and the value we actually
Oh,
create.
yes, absolutely. And we we think we work very hard, and we know our partners work very hard, and to justify the income that we get, and we're very aware of that. But that alignment is so important to us.
Look, you come from a corporate background. Obviously, 15 years later, we are where we are, and you're still quite vocal around the consolidation you see in the marketplace. What's your sort of take about that? I mean, we're running out of runway, as the old saying goes, isn't it, in regards to opportunities out there? Do you still see that continuing to develop over the coming 12, 24 months?
I think it's definitely slowed down an awful lot, and there's a lot of factors behind that. For sure, obviously, the insurance market is softening, revenue streams are reducing. I think there is a school of thought that a lot of the consolidators have overpaid for their targets, and now they will need to ensure they create value from that. And often, if you can't drive additional revenue, you will be looking at costs, and that will have an impact. The next year or so, probably 2 years, I think we will see that there's probably due a major consolidation, which is a long way away from our world, but a very big reduction in the number of deals which are being done.
And with the softening market we find ourselves in at the moment, I think that's ultimately going to have to drive different behaviour, both from investors and also from brokers,
Yes.
in regards to how they support their clients.
Yeah.
We're in a good place, I think, as a fleet of foot business as we are.
Yeah, and I always feel that about our partners. I mean, they don't have to worry about the vagaries of the insurance market and what's happening out there. We need to make sure that we provide the deals for them. They can get really close to their clients. There's a lot of businesses which are very challenged out there. They need support, and they need personal attention when things go wrong, and when they're getting advice on how they protect their business and their assets. And our guys are so well placed to do that.
Well, we're nearly in the end, Howard. Last question for you, a personal one, which I know you're not going to particularly like, but I'm sure you'll be fine with it. But what's next for you personally?
Oh wow! Well, it's sort of hard to say. I mean, I remember when I started the business. I thought, well, 5 years is a nice little timeline, really. So I envisaged 5 years, and I have a sort of 5 year philosophy. Really, I like to do things and think, well, if can I do this for the next 5 years? And if I can, then I will do that. And I'm still there. So I still think I'm not going to look beyond 5 years, because I think that's a bit crazy in any world. Lots of things can happen. But for me, we have just invested, as you said, in some great people who are going to take the business to the next level, and that's very exciting. So I'm looking forward to the next 5 years, and then I'll think about the one after that.
All right, must schedule another one for 5 years' time.
5
Brilliant.
years' time, yeah.
Well, look, thanks, Howard. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you today. Thank you to everyone who's listening today. There are even more episodes to discover. Just browse the catalogue of Momentum Meets, and remember that you can watch the uncut versions of our podcast on a Momentum YouTube channel. Catch up with you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.